what he did is unbelievable. And people probably tell me I'm a knucklehead for saying that. I think sometimes when something really tragic happens, people either run to God or run away from God. And I think my family had a tendency to maybe run away.
Country music icon Vince Gill is finally breaking the silence, and what he just confirmed has left fans stunned, speechless, and scrambling for answers. For years, whispers swirled, rumors lingered in the shadows. But now, the truth is out, and it's more jaw-dropping than anyone imagined. Was it about his unexpected role in one of the most legendary bands of all time? Or something far more personal that no one saw coming? This isn't just another headline. This is the moment fans have waited decades for. So buckle up, because once you hear what Vince finally confessed, you'll never see him the same way again. Ready to uncover the truth? Let's dive in. A father's influence. Vince Gill's remarkable musical journey can be traced back to a source close to home. His father, Stanley Gill, a respected administrative law judge by profession and a passionate amateur musician in his own right, Vince's dad played a foundational role in shaping not only his son's love for music, but also his values and approach to life. From the earliest days, he recognized that Vince wasn't just another kid strumming a toy guitar. There was something rare, something extraordinary. Instead of brushing it off as a childhood phase, his father nurtured it. When Vince was still very young, his parents gifted him a real instrument, a Gibson ES 335 electric guitar, marking a pivotal moment that underscored their belief in his potential and seriousness about his talent. That level of support extended beyond material gifts. Vince's father encouraged him to develop not just his technical ability, but also his emotional connection to music. He helped create a space where Vince could explore his creativity without judgment, instilling a sense of freedom, trust, and responsibility. This emotional support laid the foundation for Vince's lifelong commitment to music as a form of storytelling and soul-searching rather than just entertainment. It's no coincidence that Vince is known today for his depth, humility, and the quiet grace he brings to the stage, traits that mirror the kind of steady, guiding presence his father offered throughout his upbringing.
My dad was quite a character. He was really strict and really fair. You know, if I screwed up, I got in trouble right away. There was no messing around much.
But it wasn't just about music. Discipline and integrity were cornerstones of Stanley Gill's parenting style, and those qualities deeply influenced Vince's work ethic. Whether it was mastering a difficult chord progression or navigating the ups and downs of the music industry, Vince carried with him the principles his father lived by. Work hard, stay grounded, and don't chase applause. That mindset is likely what helped him endure the industry's evolving landscape without compromising his artistic identity. Even as Vince rose to fame and eventually joined the ranks of rock legends like the Eagles, he retained a deep sense of humility that was clearly instilled from home. In many ways, Vince's father was the unsung hero of his success story. He may not have had the spotlight, but his belief in Vince and his subtle, steadfast encouragement were instrumental in Vince becoming the artist he is today. Every note Vince plays, every lyric he sings, carries a bit of that early foundation, one built not just on talent, but on love, respect, and a father's unwavering faith. The influence of Stanley Gill isn't just a chapter in Vince's story, it's the root of it all. One often overlooked aspect of Stanley Gill's influence was how he helped Vince develop resilience, not just in music, but in life. From an early age, Vince was taught that setbacks were not failures, but part of the process. His father's dual identity as both a legal professional and a musician gave Vince a grounded perspective. Success required both emotional sensitivity and mental toughness. That balance would become crucial later in Vince's career, especially when facing public scrutiny, personal loss, or the high-pressure demands of fame. His ability to stay centered and respond to adversity with grace can be traced directly back to the calm, steady presence of his father, a man who taught him that strength is quiet and character is built one decision at a time. Beyond music and values, One of the most profound gifts J. Stanley Gill gave his son was the freedom to fail without fear. In a world where perfection is often praised over progress, Vince was raised in an environment where trying mattered more than succeeding on the first attempt. His father didn't just expect results, he respected effort. That mindset allowed Vince to experiment, evolve, and ultimately embrace a lifelong journey of musical growth. Whether performing on intimate stages or sold-out arenas, Vince never lost that internal compass his father helped shape. A quiet confidence rooted in patience, perseverance, and self-belief. In many ways, his father didn't just shape his character. He gave him the courage to chase a dream and the resilience to keep going when it got hard. The quiet mentor. While Vince Gill is widely known for his smooth tenor voice and masterful guitar work, his quiet influence behind the scenes in Nashville reveals another layer of his legacy. One rooted in mentorship, humility, and a deep respect for the craft. In an industry often dominated by ego and competition, Vince stands out as a collaborator who doesn't seek the spotlight. As Don Henley once said of him, "Because he knows how to be in a band." That statement, though made in the context of Vince joining the Eagles, also captures his approach to collaboration across the Nashville music scene. He understands the value of supporting others, not just leading. Vince has always welcomed opportunities to work with others, whether they're legends or newcomers. His time recording with Henley on the Cass County album is a perfect example of how he builds trust and rapport with fellow artists, laying the foundation for powerful partnerships. But Vince doesn't reserve his generosity for big names. He's known for offering songwriting advice, lending vocals or guitar tracks, and encouraging young artists behind closed doors, never needing public credit. In fact, he said himself that the best collaborations happen when no one cares who gets the recognition, a rare mindset that makes him a beloved figure among rising musicians. Younger country artists often speak about how a word from Vince can mean everything. Whether it's sharing a stage, inviting them to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, or simply giving a nod of approval, Vince's support carries weight.
It wasn't about how much money I could make or how famous I could get. I just wanted to play music.
He's not the type to preach or lecture. He leads by example, showing up prepared, respecting the music, and treating everyone in the room with dignity. His willingness to pass on his knowledge without fanfare has made him a cornerstone of Nashville's artist community, especially among those who still value traditional country roots amid the genre's shifting landscape. As Vince once put it, "I don't have to have the attention. I don't have to have the spotlight." That quiet strength, that ability to lead without ego, is what continues to make him one of the most respected figures in country music. Though he's accumulated 22 Grammy Awards and global recognition, Vince Gill's true legacy may lie in these quiet moments. The late-night studio sessions, the handwritten notes of encouragement, the phone calls he answers when an artist needs guidance. He's helped shape not just the sound of country music, but the culture of it, one humble act at a time. In a town built on connections and reputations, Vince's influence is one that echoes softly but powerfully, proving that sometimes the strongest mentors are the ones who let others shine. Beyond the stage. When people think of Vince Gill, they often picture the award-winning artist on stage, guitar in hand, serenading thousands with his heartfelt ballads. But beyond the spotlight and the accolades lies another side of Vince. One that operates quietly, yet meaningfully, through his ongoing philanthropic efforts and advocacy work.
And I've always wanted to be a charitable type person. I wanted to help other people out, and so I started this tournament to raise money for the kids to have an opportunity for junior golf.
Vince has never used his fame to draw attention to his charitable contributions, but those who've benefited from his kindness know just how far-reaching his generosity really is. Whether it's benefit concerts for disaster relief or silent support for causes close to home, he shows up. Not for applause, but because it's the right thing to do. His work with organizations such as the Country Music Hall of Fame Foundation and his involvement in various medical and children's charities in Tennessee reflect a heart that beats just as strongly for people as it does for music. Perhaps one of the most telling aspects of Vince's character is the way he uses his musical talents to lift others during times of crisis. Over the years, he's participated in numerous fundraising events and tribute concerts, often choosing to support causes related to health, community development, and music education. One of his most significant contributions came in the aftermath of natural disasters, where he lent his voice and influence to help raise money for victims in need. Unlike many who announce their donations publicly, Vince prefers to give quietly, allowing the focus to remain on the people affected rather than himself. This selfless approach has earned him deep respect from both fans and peers who recognize that his compassion runs far deeper than his lyrics. In addition to his financial contributions, Vince has remained an active advocate for the preservation of country music's rich cultural heritage. As a longtime member of the Grand Ole Opry, he has played an instrumental role in championing traditional country artists and ensuring their stories are not forgotten. He frequently donates his time to Opry-related initiatives and outreach programs that introduce country music to new generations. His respect for history and tradition isn't just performative, it's woven into the decisions he makes and the projects he supports. Whether it's mentoring younger musicians who embrace classic country values or backing educational programs that provide instruments to underserved schools, Vince consistently invests in the future of the genre he loves so deeply. Even in his most personal moments, Vince Gill has shown what it means to lead with empathy. When his wife, Amy Grant, faced life-altering health challenges, Vince dropped everything to care for her, a reminder that his sense of responsibility extends well beyond the stage. Though this focuses more on Amy's health battles, Vince's actions during those times reflect the same values that define his philanthropic spirit: loyalty, presence, and unwavering commitment. He has lived his life by example, quietly proving that success is not just measured in awards, but in the people you help, the hearts you touch, and the good you do when no one's watching. Through his quiet acts of kindness, Vince Gill continues to write a legacy that's every bit as powerful as his music, one built on compassion, generosity, and purpose. What Vince Gill sacrificed for his art. Throughout his decades-long career, Vince Gill has become a symbol of grace and excellence in country music. But behind that polished image lies a personal story marked by sacrifice, quiet struggle, and moments of deep emotional cost. One of the greatest prices Vince paid for his art was time. Precious, irreplaceable time with family. As his star rose in the 80s and 90s, so did the demands of touring, recording, and press obligations. The constant movement, the pressure to stay relevant, and the need to always deliver perfection meant missing birthdays, school events, and ordinary moments that define family life. This wasn't just the occasional absence. It was years of constantly being on the road, often pulled in opposite directions by love for his family and the passion that drove his music. That inner conflict came to a head during the emotionally complicated years between 1993 and 1999, a period Vince has referred to as one of the toughest chapters of his life. While still married to Janice Oliver, and as his connection with Amy Grant grew stronger, he found himself walking a tightrope between public expectations and private truths. Their chemistry was undeniable, yet both Vince and Amy remained committed to their respective marriages, trying to honor their vows, even as the world around them buzzed with speculation. The emotional toll of staying silent, of constantly being misunderstood by fans and the press, took a heavy psychological toll. Vince later admitted how painful it was to have people assume the worst of him, a judgment that haunted him even as he tried to navigate his personal life with integrity.
Well, you always want to play for people that are crazy about you. That's the greatest feeling in the world.
Professionally, Vince also made deliberate choices that cost him other opportunities in order to protect what mattered more to him. When Glenn Frey passed away in 2016 and the Eagles were left with an unimaginable void, Vince didn't immediately jump at the opportunity to fill that space. He hesitated, not out of fear, but out of respect. He knew stepping into such an iconic role was not just about talent. It was about honoring the emotional gravity of the situation. And when he did accept the offer, he approached it with humility and reverence, choosing not to make it about himself, but about keeping the music alive. He turned down solo ventures and redirected his focus in a way that placed legacy and meaning above personal gain. These lost years weren't defined by regret, but by trade-offs. The quiet sacrifices Vince made behind the scenes in order to stay true to the person he wanted to be, even when it hurt. While others chased fame at any cost, Vince took a slower, more deliberate path, one that often meant bearing the weight of misunderstanding and missed moments. Yet it's those very sacrifices that give his music such emotional depth. You can hear it in the sincerity of his voice, the care in his arrangements, the way he plays not to impress, but to connect. Vince Gill may have lost time, comfort, and certain career milestones, but what he gained in wisdom, perspective, and emotional honesty is what has made him not just a star, but a true artist. Musical integrity. In an era where country music underwent seismic shifts, moving from the traditional sounds of steel guitars and storytelling to the polished, party-centric beats of bro country and auto-tuned choruses, Vince Gill stood as an unshakable pillar of musical integrity. While others adapted their style to fit mainstream trends, Vince chose to stay rooted in authenticity, trusting that timeless craftsmanship would outlast temporary fads. He openly rejected the idea of chasing radio formulas or altering his voice with digital effects. "I just want to write from an honest place," he shared, signaling his refusal to dilute the heart of his music for chart placement. That quiet rebellion against manufactured hits and commercial pressures earned him deep respect, not just from his fans, but from peers who watched him preserve country soul during an identity crisis. As new waves of pop country emerged, dominating the airwaves with stadium anthems and summer hooks, Vince leaned into what he knew best: emotional truth and lyrical substance. He continued writing songs that didn't just entertain, but meant something. Vince even admits that the songs he's writing now, in his late 60s, are the most meaningful of his life. Not necessarily radio hits, but stories that reflect where he is emotionally and spiritually. This evolution wasn't born from marketing meetings. It came from a seasoned artist who had lived enough life to know what really mattered. In his words and in his music, there's no posturing. Just a man staying loyal to his roots while allowing his sound to grow with grace and maturity. Part of what allowed Vince to maintain this level of authenticity is his unique ability to collaborate without compromising. He's worked across genres, from rock with the Eagles to pop with artists like Kelly Clarkson, without ever losing his identity. These partnerships weren't about chasing trends, but about finding common ground through shared musical respect. And perhaps most importantly, Vince made it clear that recognition was never the goal. "When no one is worried about who gets the credit, that's when the real magic happens," he once said. That mindset kept his music pure, his ego in check, and his collaborations genuine. In an industry obsessed with fame and clicks, Vince found a way to stay relevant while remaining untouched by the noise. Even as other artists wrestled with staying current in a rapidly evolving industry, Vince turned inward, letting his personal filter, the one shaped by years of standing on the Grand Ole Opry stage, guide his decisions. Every song, every album, every performance was run through that internal compass of, does this feel true? It's why fans trust him. It's why other musicians seek him out. And it's why, even without reinventing his image or chasing trends, Vince Gill remains one of the most respected figures in country music. He didn't need to change with the times, because what he stood for never went out of style. His unwavering commitment to musical integrity hasn't just preserved his legacy, it has elevated it. Healing through harmony. For Vince Gill, music has always been more than just a career. It's been a means of emotional survival, a lifeline in moments of loss, and a sacred space where he could channel grief into something meaningful. Throughout his journey, Vince has leaned on songwriting and performance to make sense of the pain he's carried, especially following the passing of loved ones and close friends. One of the most poignant examples of this was his response to the death of Glenn Frey, a co-founder of the Eagles. When Vince was invited to join the Eagles after Frey's passing in 2016, it wasn't simply an artistic opportunity. It was a deeply personal way of honoring a friend. Reflecting on that invitation, Vince admitted with honest disbelief, "It's not something you can dream up and think about and want." His decision to step in, not to replace Glenn, but to preserve the legacy of the music they both cherished, was an act of healing as much as tribute. That emotional weight was especially evident during Vince's first performance with the Eagles at Dodger Stadium in 2017. Sharing the stage with Glenn's son, Deacon Frey, Vince helped bring the band's iconic songs back to life in a way that was both respectful and deeply moving. Performing tracks like New Kid in Town and Take It to the Limit, songs Vince didn't just sing, but felt. He carried the grief of fans, friends, and family alike. He acknowledged the responsibility that came with singing those songs, emphasizing that they weren't just tunes, they were memories. In his own words, Vince said, "I can't imagine not hearing those songs and not hearing the iconic lines." And so he committed to preserving the arrangements exactly as fans remembered them. This wasn't nostalgia, it was reverence. While Vince has never shied away from emotionally rich material, some of his most powerful performances have come in the wake of personal loss. Though this focuses primarily on his relationship with Glenn Frey, Vince's broader discography contains tracks that reveal the quiet ache of grief. Songs like Go Rest High on That Mountain, though written years earlier after the loss of his brother, have taken on renewed resonance as time has passed. It's a song that's transcended its original context, now standing as a universal anthem of mourning. Vince has performed it at funerals, memorial services, and tribute shows, often breaking down in tears mid-performance, a testament to how raw and real that pain still is, and how music continues to be his way of processing it. Ultimately, Vince Gill's approach to grief through music is one of honesty and vulnerability. He doesn't attempt to mask sorrow with bravado or bury it beneath commercial polish. Instead, he gives it room to breathe, turning personal loss into communal healing. Whether through his involvement in the Eagles, his timeless ballads, or his tender on-stage tributes, Vince demonstrates how music can be a sanctuary, both for the ones singing and for the ones listening. He lets the silence between the notes carry just as much weight as the words themselves. And in doing so, he offers a rare kind of comfort. The sense that even in our most broken moments, there's still beauty to be found in the sound of a song. Vince's vision for the future. As Vince Gill enters the later chapters of his storied career, his eyes are firmly set on the horizon, not just on his own legacy, but on what he hopes to leave behind for the future of country music. For Vince, it's never been about securing his place in the spotlight, but about nurturing a tradition that's bigger than any one artist. He's made it clear that his greatest hope is for country music to remain rooted in truth, emotion, and musicianship, even as it continues to evolve.
I've been a member for nearly 20 years with Grand Ole Opry, and I enjoy that place because it really honors the history of the music.
His involvement with the Grand Ole Opry, where he has become a steadfast presence, reflects this commitment. Vince sees the Opry not just as a stage, but as a cultural cornerstone that must be preserved and passed on with care. He often says he filters his songs through the lens of how they'd sound on that legendary stage, a testament to how deeply he values country music's spiritual home. Vince has been vocal about the need for country music to embrace change without losing its soul. He doesn't shy away from acknowledging the influence of new styles or younger voices, but he also urges the next generation to remember where it all started. In recent years, he has used his platform to elevate new talent, not just through public endorsements, but through private mentorship and collaborative performances. He's worked with up-and-coming artists who embodied the blend of reverence and innovation he champions. Vince's hope is that these younger artists will keep the storytelling tradition alive while finding their own unique voices. He's encouraged them to write from experience, to play live instruments, and most of all, to resist the pressure to fit into formulas. "Be honest," he said time and again, "and the music will last longer than you do." Part of Vince's forward-looking vision also includes a deep desire to see country music maintain its sense of community. Throughout his career, he's emphasized the importance of collaboration over competition, and that ethos extends into his dreams for the genre's future. He believes that the best music is made when artists are unafraid to share credit and celebrate each other's strengths. His time with the Eagles reinforced this belief. He didn't join to replace anyone or to seize attention, but to serve the music and preserve a legacy. That same spirit, he hopes, will define the next wave of country musicians. Not just talented performers, but thoughtful stewards of a genre that thrives on humility, connection, and mutual respect. Ultimately, Vince Gill doesn't measure success by awards or streaming numbers. He measures it by impact, by the lives his music touches and the future he helps shape. He wants to be remembered not only for what he created, but for what he protected and passed on. As he continues to perform with the Eagles on their farewell tour, Vince seems to be taking each note, each lyric, as part of a larger message. That music matters most when it's honest, when it's shared, and when it's used to light the way for those coming next. His legacy, then, isn't just a collection of hits. It's a philosophy, a reminder that even as times change, the heart of country music can remain steady and true, just like the man who's been singing it all these years. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more untold stories and legendary moments. Got thoughts on Vince Gill's revelation? We'd love to hear them below. And hey, don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen to keep the story going. Trust us, you won't want to miss it.